This afternoon, I will be talking about assessment, but just to make sure that we're on the same page and to clarify expectations, I won't delve into the basics of assessments. I'll just give an overview, assuming that many of our listeners are seasoned teachers and administrators. But rather, I'll spend more time talking about issues in implementing, administering assessments, and that includes equity in making sure that our assessments are equitable. And we'll also spend a big chunk of the time talking about academic integrity, which is proving to be a big headache to everybody. May I just preface everything I will say by starting with that the principles of good assessment remain the same regardless of whether students are on-site, Hyflex hybrid, or pure online. My succeeding slides will talk about assessments, but I hope that you will not hear the word should from me, in as much as I don't believe that there are shoulds in this life. Rather, you take what you hear, okay, and then tweak it, agree with it, or don't agree with it, depending on the context of your school, of your classroom. What I will present to you are ideas that have found to be effective by people. They've written studies about this. Majority agree with them, but there may be instances when you will find yourself scratching your head and saying, no, my classroom does not look like this, and that is totally fine. Okay? So moving on, as I said, principles of good assessment remain the same regardless of modality. And when we talk about assessment, we do two things, right? The first is we check whether our students at the end of our unit plan reached or are able to show us evidences of the learning goals that we have set for them. And prior to reaching that point, we also check along the way whether or not we are effective in bringing them there. And as you know, for the latter part of the unit, wherein we want to find out whether we were successful or not, we administer summative assessments. But before we give the summative assessments, we'd like some clues whether or not we are effective in how we teach. And along that journey, we give our formative assessments. The results of the summative assessments at the end of a unit, at the end of a quarter, at the end of a trimester, at the end of the year, okay, are what we use to make a judgment whether or not we will promote a student or we will retain him in the current grade level. Or, in other words, we will make a judgment whether this person, this student, has been deemed to have sufficiently understood the lesson, and as such, we can pass that student, or that the student did not show enough evidence, or evidence are contrary to what we're looking for, and in which case, we will fail the student. However, prior to getting to that part, we will give little checks along the way so that that data is what we will use not to judge yet, but that is the data we will use to adjust the instruction that we give, okay? And the students will also use that to adjust the learning that is happening in their minds. So let me go and talk more about formative assessment. When we talk about formative assessment, in the different ways that I will share with you later, how we check for the understanding along the way, we get data about what the prior knowledge of students are. What do they know about it, right? Do they have wrong ideas about it or misconceptions? And then we find out what they still don't know about the lesson that we are currently teaching or that we are about to teach. And when we have that kind of data, what are we able to do? We are able to adjust the the pace with which we teach, because, we might find ourselves teaching too fast if we see that there are so many things that they don't know yet, and we've already said so many things, right? We might decide that, maybe I'm teaching at the right pace, but my strategy is not correct. The way I'm doing it does not fit how my students are learning. And so I will change my strategy. Or maybe the examples I'm giving are too difficult. And so I will have to do some changes in content and maybe simplify some of those so that they will understand the lesson better. Why am I doing all this? So that ultimately, with those adjustments, I will be able to bring my students to get to the learning outcomes that I have set out for them. But no, that's not the only things, that's not the only data that we are collecting inside the classroom, right? What else are we collecting? Data about their interests. What are they interested in? How are they feeling at that moment? Because as we all very well know, if they're not in the mood, regardless of how well we teach, it is possible that nothing will still sink in. We would like to find out what motivates them. Okay? We'd like to check also what their learning styles are and what their interaction dynamics are. Meaning to say, does this student get along well with his group mates? Will he learn better if he's with another set of students? And so on and so forth. If we gather this type of data, what are we aiming for? We will still adjust, our pace, our strategy, and content, but our goal is now to increase engagement. Again, increased engagement will bring them closer to the learning outcomes. Also, if our students are engaged, they will want to attend our classes more. They will be interested in the lessons that we will deliver. Okay? They might find the lesson topics to be more relevant because they can relate to them. Okay? So it is important that we collect this other form of data too, okay? Because it serves as a stepping point towards the learning outcomes. Now, as you know, the learning outcomes are what is written in our overt curriculum. But there is also such a thing as a covert or the hidden curriculum. As teachers, we don't only teach the subject, right? We are also formators. So as we get to know and find out how we can reach our students better, we are also able to deliver our hidden curriculum better. And what's part of the hidden curriculum? How to be good citizens of the country, how to be kinder people, how to follow rules and regulations, and so on and so forth. So, inside the classroom, inside our institutions, we are not only bringing our students, taking them to a place where they will be smarter, where they will be effective people or effective whatever role in society they will take, but we would also like for them to be good citizens of the country, to be good people of the earth who will have concern for others. And that's part of the hidden curriculum. And all of those, we are able to bring our students closer to that as we give our formative assessments and as we collect the results of those formative assessments.